Hello, I'm Kerry Shamblin, and I practice Jyotish, also known as Vedic Astrology. I have been offering a monthly forecast since 1999 where I track how the planets are moving through the sky and how they may be affecting our life on Earth. I also work directly with others through counseling, teaching, and mentoring. This is the February 2025 monthly Vedic Astrology forecast from Kerry Shamblin. Let's start with a 9-planet summary. The Sun moves from Capricorn to Aquarius on February 12th. Both signs are Saturn's territory, the Sun's known enemy. This is a tussle between what about me and what about everyone. Rather than shifting blame, practice detachment when you feel that ego swell. The Moon. The full moon at the last degree of Cancer on February 12th brings us maximum light and realizations that help us find our landing direction as we crest the tipping point. The waning moon during late February joins the Sun in Aquarius on February 27th, asking us to clean our containers, align our desires, and mentally prepare for big changes ahead. Mars. Retrograde Mars has returned to Gemini, which could feel like a series of minor implosions as we revisit earlier situations, but from a different perspective. Mars resumes direct motion on February 23rd, when we have the chance to change course and refocus our agendas. Mercury is on the bounce in February. His upward sprint through Capricorn tops out on February 11th, when he enters Aquarius for a quick transit past Saturn, urging us to tighten belts and slow down. On February 27th, Mercury enters Pisces until May 6th for a long stretch to cover the upcoming shakedown that ramps up in March. Jupiter. As Lord of the water sign Pisces, retrograde Jupiter has been adrift in Taurus, reflecting the sloshing of transiting Rahu in Pisces. Clear guidance has been hard to come by for the past few months. On February 4th, Jupiter regains direct motion, which could lead to new resolutions and directions. Venus entered Pisces on January 28th for an extended stay through May 31st. Venus and Mercury will hover in Jupiter's final water sign together, each going retrograde and facilitating the outer planet's upcoming shifts. This is a call for grace and compassion at the highest levels. Saturn's final months in Aquarius are here. Mid-February will see Mercury and Sun passing into Saturn's realm, urging us to reorganize our relationships with both personal responsibility and transactional expectations. Now is a good time to take stock of what has worked in the long term and to prospect about what to carry forward for the next round of investments. Rahu. The chaotic and unpredictable waves of Rahu coming close to the end of his voyage through Pisces will come into focus during March with an eclipse pair. Meanwhile, February is mostly about Rahu and Venus throwing caution to the winds and riding high on the seas of fate. It will be difficult to tell true love from facade and manipulation. Stay vigilant. Ketu has come to the tail of the current Virgo transit, promising to lift the gate leading to Mercury's active Earth sign in the near future. Meanwhile, Venus, Rahu, Jupiter, and Mars are all focused on Virgo, the natural sign of health, service, jobs, and hard work. The pressure from outside is great. Focus on one task at a time, even though the larger puzzle may. If you're looking for an in-depth analysis of more of these planetary placements, please continue listening to this full planetary forecast. Jupiter goes direct at 18 degrees Taurus on February 4th. After walking back through the late degrees of Taurus since October 9th, Jupiter resumes direct motion on February 4th. Retrograde motion of a planet can make predictions difficult. The planet's indications and results can vary widely. We expect clarity, wisdom, and accurate guidance from Jupiter. And the past 4 months has left many folks feeling rather lost. Jupiter's water sign, Pisces, has additionally been hosting Rahu since November of 2023, muddying the waters, and with the retrograde cycle of Jupiter added to it, the confusion levels have risen considerably. There are a couple of factors coming online that should help us to regain some clarity about direction, even though we also have some incoming influences that indicate a slate of rapid changes. Let's take advantage of this window of clarity during February and make a game plan for the very dynamic spring of 2025. One favorable transit to consider is Jupiter's Parivartana with Venus, which engages when Venus moved to Pisces on January 27th, 28th. Parivartana status is gained when a pair of planets occupies one another's signs. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces, where Venus voyages through May 31st. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, where direct Jupiter will be finishing his transit on May 14th. This gives us a 3.5-month period where two great benefic planets both gain the benefit of this exchange, which bolsters the results of each of the planets involved. During this window, things may get a bit wiggly from March 1st to April 12th, when Venus is retrograde in Pisces, with the added shimmy of Mercury retrograde in Pisces from March 15th to April 7th. Adding to the wiggles comes a strong game of light and shadow with a lunar eclipse on March 13th, 14th, and a solar eclipse on March 29th. With so many moving parts during this time, including the transit of great Saturn from Aquarius on March 29th, we will all be looking for stability, grace, and inspiration amidst a chaos-fueled period. The exchange of signs between Venus and Jupiter, the two great teachers who guide our connections and growth, is very positive and stabilizes us through a rapidly changing phase. The spice comes with the fact that Rahu will join with Venus, putting a wild energy into the already shifting landscape. February 4th brings us Jupiter's return to direct motion. Until Venus assumes retrograde on March 1st, this gives us a generous few weeks to maximize the creative growth potential promised by this exchange of signs. Look for the lighthouses and correct your courses while the fog clears temporarily. Mercury transits Aquarius from February 11th to the 27th. Mercury is advancing quickly through Saturn's signs of Capricorn and Aquarius. This rapid motion normally comes just before a retrograde cycle, which we see for Mercury in Pisces from March 15th to April 7th. The first part of February will see Mercury running up the incline we find in Capricorn, and the dash continues from February 11th through the 27th in Aquarius. Aquarius is a paradoxical sign, having the co-lordship of Saturn and Rahu. As the fourth of the fixed signs in the zodiac, Aquarius brings in stability in the air element, urging us to focus our mental efforts for maximum gains in the long run. The stable nature of Aquarius is reflected in the deliberate nature of Saturn, while the other co-lord, Rahu, projects a dynamic and unpredictable energy that brings forward the reality of navigating a wild world and its diverse masses. Aquarius has been hosting Saturn since January 2023, which is part 2 of Saturn's voyage through his 2 contiguous signs, giving us a bit more than 5 years of Saturn in strength. Since Saturn's game involves hard work, sacrifice, determination, and surrender, for many, this stretch, which began in January 2020, when Saturn entered Capricorn, has been challenging. February and March will be the final 2 months of Saturn's transit in Aquarius, and we may encounter details that need to be completed in the matters that Saturn has been drawing to our attention in the past couple years. Aquarius represents the realization of desires that have been long sought or worked toward. Saturn urges us to let go of what has already passed so that forward movement is unimpeded. Saturn also helps us to maintain boundaries, stand with strength, and make hard calls. As Saturn moves toward his next station in the final sign of the zodiac, our long games will be cycling into new vistas. Saturn in Pisces is from March 29th, 2025 through February 23rd, 2028, with a Saturn in Aries preview from June 2nd through October 20th of 2027. Mercury's exact meeting with Saturn comes on February 25th at 27 degrees Aquarius in the nakshatra of Purvabhadra, which spans between the signs of Aquarius and Pisces. Much of the action with the upcoming eclipses and transits will occur in Purvabhadra nakshatra, which has the reputation for intensity, but with the power to elevate and uplift those who have prepared themselves to rise. While Mercury is in Aquarius with Saturn from February 11th through the 27th, use the stability of steady Saturn to focus mental energy on one task at a time. Mercury tends to multitask, which can result in loss of time and energy as dropped threads need to be picked up eventually. Slow down, maintain focus, stay on task, and don't forget to eat, even when the world is swirling outside your door. Now is the time to analyze what is happening in the short term and make projections for the long term. Do your best with the information you have on hand. There will be a full moon in Cancer at 30 degrees in Ashlesha Nakshatra on February 12th. We are on a roll with the full moons occurring at the last degree of a sign, which means that a feeling of transition and instability has been prevailing for a few months. The full moon of February comes on Wednesday, February 12th, as the moon lines up at 30 degrees Cancer in the nakshatra of Ashlesha, while the sun occupies 30 degrees Capricorn in the nakshatra of Dhanishta. Going forward, the degree the full moon occurs at will begin to back away from the edge, but both February and March will maintain that tipping point feeling. The zone that joins the last degrees of Cancer to the first degrees of Leo is the first Gandanta of the zodiac, that tricky transition between a water sign and a fire sign that can feel like a challenge or trial. At sunrise in Colorado, USA, on February 12th, the sun at 29 degrees 54 minutes Capricorn will oppose the moon setting at 29 degrees 54 minutes Cancer, bringing us a full moon that feels like a brink reached. The moon, when full and in its own sign of Cancer, is considered to be strong, meaning that emotional energy will be high and that as much light as possible is beaming into the night sky. The lead up to this full moon during the first part of February could be an avenue to gaining more insight and information about both the practical facts of life and the emotional landscape that reacts to those facts. When we reach that full moon moment, it will be less than an hour before the moon moves through the Gandanta zone and into Leo, and it will be just a few hours until the sun moves into Aquarius. Mercury is the ruler of the nakshatra Ashlesha, where the moon's fullness peaks. Ashlesha's symbol is a serpent, which carries forward the Chinese calendar's New Year, which becomes Year of the Wood Snake on January 29th. One of the transformational feats of the snake is the ability to shed its skin, to accommodate growth and cleanse its system of toxins. The snake is a prevalent symbol of transformation and healing in many cultures, including being the main feature of the caduceus, the traditional symbol for Hermes, aka Mercury, ruler of each of the nakshatras that falls in the last section of each water sign. Take stock of what is, what has been, and how you are going to manage the changes ahead. Individually and collectively, we are facing the depths of change, invited or not. In this tide, decide whether to surrender completely to it or to find navigational clarity in order to choose conscious change over being changed against your will. The Sun transits Aquarius from February 12th through March 14th. The Sun moves from Capricorn to Aquarius just after the full moon peaks on February 12th for a 1-month cruise through Saturn's air sign. This will be the last time that the Sun will transit either of Saturn's signs while Saturn holds court there until 2050, when Saturn makes it back to Capricorn. Sun and Saturn are known enemies, each the champion of an equally valid sector of life. The Sun shows us the power of the individual, reflects the truth of an immaterial soul as part of the individual system, and sets the tone for personal expression, which could manifest in almost any way under the sun. Achievement, leadership, generosity, and nobility, righteousness, these are the best qualities we can aspire to when it comes to embodying the sun. Saturn's agenda recognizes individual power and expression, but brings into play the field on which this individual moves, calling into question how an individual operates in the context of society. With Saturn, we are called to define our beliefs about social responsibility and how much the individual needs to recognize that he is just one of the many, and to examine how individual actions affect the rights of others. With Saturn and Sun facing off from mid-February through mid-March, we will have our annual Ego Summit meeting for one last time in Saturn's territory, which brings us into the realm of the common folks, the masses, and those who are compromised in some way due to health, wealth, gender, or any kind of suffering and difficulty. The annual Sun and Saturn meeting often brings up themes of me versus we. It is important for individuals to care for and know themselves, but how can that occur without robbing others of that same privilege? This study is relevant in our personal lives, but also when we look at the bigger picture of the collectives and groups that make up countries and societies. The Sun in Aquarius this year really does feel like a retreat or summit meeting due to very few aspects coming into Aquarius from other planets. The nodal axis, aka Rahu and Ketu, Jupiter and Mars are all out of range of hitting the Sun and Saturn during their time together. Take this as a hint to make some time to create a quiet space so that your own voice alone can be heard as you turn inward and find the roots of what you need, what you want, and what you can actually do in the face of what you have to support you. Make some time to have a heart-to-heart with yourself without considering anyone else's needs. Then, make some more time to have a heart-to-heart with the other people in your life and try to understand their needs and desires. Then, take even more time to sit with both of these data sets as you make plans about how to move forward in a sustainable way. Mars goes direct at 23 degrees Gemini on February 23rd. Mars has been making quite a splash as he is slowly grinding through his retrograde phase. Retrograde took Mars from Cancer back into Gemini on January 21st, pulling us into what feels like a slog as powerful Mars walks back into the quick and intellectual sign of Gemini. When Mars is unable to fire on all cylinders, we can feel a bit edgy or frustrated on a personal level. For the first few weeks of February, we will all feel the slight power vacuum as retrograde Mars rolls back, extending his unstable and fiery energy into Virgo, Sagittarius, and Capricorn via aspect, in addition to his influence in the sign of Gemini. One of Mars's duties is to protect and serve. Retrograde Mars has left many feeling like the fox is guarding the henhouse. Retrograde motion does not inspire firm foundations and smooth initiation, so it may be wise to plan new campaigns for after Mars returns to direct motion on February 23rd. The first few weeks of February is a good time for reviewing strategies and investigating data sets. Retrograde motion, in the sense of frustrating Mars, could come out as short temper, impatience, or aggression, especially in the Mercury realms of communication and transaction. Try to turn the control inward and err on the side of saying less this month. Mercury transits Pisces from February 27th through May 6th. Mercury will be spending a long stretch in the sign of Pisces from February 27th through May 6th due to a retrograde cycle that stalls him in those stars from March 15th through April 7th. If you've been watching this space, you'll be aware that we're all in for some planetary excitement this spring, with the sign of Pisces being the main stage. One of Mercury's hats is that of journalist, being the eyes and ears, recording the events on scene, asking questions of involved parties. Mercury's presence in Pisces during this time could be quite useful. Pisces, the water sign of expansive Jupiter, is the debilitation sign for Mercury, making it difficult for swift Mercury to think and move with his usual quickness. The emotional depths of the water signs tend to bog down detail-oriented Mercury. But of all the planets, Mercury has the intelligence to learn his way through most difficulty and the humor to buffer the painful edges of life enough to keep walking the path and making it work. When a planet transits through its sign of debilitation, there are a set of conditions that, if met, will cancel the debilitation and, in some cases, boomerang the weakness into strength and the difficulty into opportunity. One of the conditions is the presence of an exalted planet on scene, which will be the case with Venus, exalted in Pisces, present during the entire transit of Mercury through Pisces. Venus transits Pisces from January 27th and 28th through May 31st. We have a new moon in Aquarius, Shatabishak Nakshatra, on February 27th. As the second month of 2025 comes to a close, the moon slides into the sun's zone for our new moon moment on Thursday, February 27th. The luminaries join at 16 degrees of Aquarius, which falls in the third pada of Shatabishak Nakshatra. There is a lot of Rahu influence on this new moon. Not only is Rahu edging closer to Aquarius, Rahu is the co-ruler of Aquarius, as well as the planetary ruler of Shatabishak Nakshatra, which is associated with the concept of radical healing. The nadir of lunar energy comes with the new moon, which can also correspond with an ebb in physical and mental energy. It is good to carve out time for rest and relaxation, purging what has been spent and opening space for what is to come. When the Sun and Rahu or Ketu get into the same zone, the Earth experiences the extreme play of light and shadow that comes with eclipses. In March, the Sun joins with Rahu, bringing an eclipse pairing that acts as the harbinger for an outer planet rollout of changes through the spring. The Rahu influence on this new moon asks us to examine our deep impulses and desires. Shatabhishak Nakshatra is supportive for connecting with medicine. Medicine is a broad term here, meaning any person, place, or thing that contributes to the healing process. Medicine can be magic when the body, mind, and soul are aligned. Medicine means nothing when the system is out of alignment or when the cause of illness continues to operate. Create alignment and harmony between what you truly desire and what you are actually doing. When you find that grain of sand that may be irritating, stay there and work on the source of friction. Identify sources of pain or discord and objectively study how you are furthering or reducing that friction. With big changes ahead starting in March, we are collectively readying ourselves by cleaning things out, resting and regaining strength, and adjusting our strategies going forward to include self-care that supports and is supported by a larger system of societal and community care. March 2025 headlines. Venus goes retrograde in Pisces on March 1st through April 12th. The Sun and Saturn conjoin exactly on March 11th. There is a full moon, total lunar eclipse in Leo at 29 degrees. Uttara Falguni Nakshatra on March 13th and 14th. And then the Sun moves to Pisces from March 14th through April 13th. We have a Mercury retrograde in Pisces from March 15th through April 7th. And then we've got the new moon, partial solar eclipse in Pisces, Uttarabhadra Nakshatra, March 29th, followed immediately by Saturn entering Pisces on March 29th, 2025, where he stays through February of 2028. Thank you for listening to the February 2025 forecast. Thank you for listening to this presentation. If you are interested in following my work, look for Kerry Shamblin Astrology on YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, Facebook, and Instagram. My monthly forecast is published in written and audio format on my website, planetaryinfluence.com, where you can join my email list or book a one-on-one session with me. My goal is to light your path toward a joyful and liberated life experience.